Hello, everybody, and welcome to another iEat Green Zoom cooking class. I'm Bhavani, and I am happy to be here with all of you today. We are actually going to make appetizers today. I have had many people requesting making appetizers, and it is summertime, and we do lots of entertaining. Even in the COVID pandemic days, we're still finding ways to invite people over, even if it's outdoors and even if it's distancing. We still want to be able to put out some light fare, and I have 4 different things we're going to make today. We're going to make hummus, which I know everyone buys hummus, and it's so easy to buy hummus, but the hummus you buy is very bland compared to homemade hummus. So I'm going to show you how to whip up some hummus really quick, super easy. Then we're going to make assorted vegetarian sushi rolls. I learned to make these vegetarian rolls back when I worked for one of the first vegetarian restaurants in Greenwich Village called Arnold's Turtle. And that's going back many, many years, almost 40 years. And these sushi rolls are still absolutely fantastic. And I also am going to make a mango avocado roll. So you'll do that. And then another special treat is a Georgian radish pate. And it's actually the radish greens that we use. And these are parts of the vegetables that I used to always throw out. The radish green tops, the beet green tops, those are parts of the vegetable that I used to just toss. And as we've become more aware about food waste and throwing things out and trying to use the whole plant, I came up with these recipes for using the tops. And actually, I actually didn't come up with the recipe by myself. I got it from my sister-in-law, my step-sister-in-law, and she is from the Republic of Georgia, and they make these patés using beet greens and radish greens all the time. You can also use dandelion greens, arugula, any type of spicy green that have a lot of flavor. So we're going to get started with the vegetarian sushi rolls, because those actually are going to get cooked. I already have some cooked brown rice here that I made ahead of time. For those that signed up ahead of time, I did send you the recipe, and in the recipe it calls for cooked brown rice. Just to remind you, when you're cooking rice, rather than cooking 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water, in order to remove the arsenic, you really want to boil the rice in a big pot of water, like pasta, same way you make pasta. So I used 2 cups of rice, actually I made 3 cups of rice, so I'd have extra, 3 cups of rice, and I used a big pasta pot. And then I drained it through a strainer and just let it drain. And the thing that's nice about this also is you can make the rice ahead of time. You can make the rice in the morning and let it sit out all day until you're ready to use it. And that is actually really great when you use the short grain brown rice. It has a lot of stickiness to it. You know, it's not really gluten, but it's glutinous. And so it sticks really well. So that's the kind of rice that you want to use. You can also, of course, use Japanese sushi rice, but I like to use whole grain brown rice. So I'm going to start by peeling my carrots. And you don't always have to peel carrots. I mean, people talk about that a lot. You can wash these peels also and save them and use them in a stock. But I don't like the way they look, you know, when you're using them in cooking. So I always peel my carrots. But you can save the peels, wash them well, and use them in a stock pot for making a vegetable broth. And that's a great thing to do. Now for grating the carrots, you can either use a box grater like this, or you can use a food processor. Like this. Oops. With the grater blade in it. Put the grater blade right in. Set the top on. and plug this in. And this goes very fast. You're going to take off the tops of the carrots as well. Put them into your compost bin. Turn this on. And that's it. So now I have really nice grated carrots for this dish. And I also want to cut my onions. So I'm going to cut the onions in the shape of silver moons or slivers. So this is how you can cut it in half, take off the ends, cut it in half, lie it flat so it won't wiggle around while you're cutting it. First, of course, you have to peel it. Again, all this goes right into the compost. And then I've shown you this every week because I use onions almost in everything. So cutting onions is really key. You use your finger as a guide, and you keep moving your finger back so that you don't cut your finger, but you let the knife rest along your knuckle. Keep moving your finger back. And you want these slivers to be fairly thin. I'm going to saute this, and this is going to be the base for the vegetarian, one type of the vegetarian sushi rolls. For sushi rolls, sushi is the nori, which is the seaweed that sushi is made with, is a great vehicle to use to stuff with almost anything. When my kids were little and we were pescatarian, I would actually put tuna salad right into the nori and roll it up with some rice. It's really just a great vehicle. When I have leftover stir-fry vegetables, I'd put that inside of the nori and roll it up. And my kids would take that for lunch and snacks all the time. My oldest, when she would take the sushi rolls, people would make fun of her. Her name was Saisha, and they called her Sushi, actually. By the time my younger two went to school, everybody wanted to eat the sushi rolls because sushi now had become popular. And so I actually had to pack a few extra rolls every time that they would take that for lunch so that they could share with everybody. So I have 2 onions here. This is going to make, a more filling we're actually going to need, but it's always great to have leftovers. The filling, by the way, you can actually freeze. And I've done that before. If I don't want to use it all right now, I can freeze the filling and defrost it at another time. And the same goes for brown rice. Whenever I make brown rice, because brown rice takes 45 minutes or 45 minutes to make, that's actually what very often holds me up from like whipping together dinner. So I keep some brown rice I store it in a plastic bag, like 2 portions worth, in the freezer, and I can just defrost that as I need it. So we're going to saute this until it gets soft. In with the onions, I put a little bit of olive oil, just enough to cover the bottom of the pan. I'm going to add a couple teaspoons of grated ginger. Now the grated ginger, I grated it already. To grate ginger, you can either use a ginger grater. This one is metal. They also make them out of ceramic. You can use a microplane or this grater right here. Any way that you want to grate the ginger. And you can also use this trusty device, which I've shown you before. And I'm actually going to use that right now to mince up some garlic. I have plenty of minced ginger already prepared, but I don't have enough minced garlic for what I will need today. So we're going to mince up a bunch of garlic, and I'll show you how quick that will go. I can move this off to the side now. Here's for those of you that are joining me in some line. So fresh ginger and fresh garlic are really the key ingredients in this filling for the sushi rolls. So this is a mini food processor. It's a Braun device. This has many attachments to it. It has an immersion blender attachment. It has a little whisk attachment. But I use this daily just to grate onions, garlic. I whip up salad dressing in this all the time. I'm just going to put the garlic right in here. I'm going to put 2 teaspoons worth into the pan right here. Okay, so I have my minced garlic now that I'll be using for other recipes. Once the onions start to caramelize, then we will add the carrots. And so this is my sushi nori. When you buy nori, you can buy nori that's untoasted or nori that is ready for making sushi, which is already pre-toasted. So this says roasted seaweed. And it's easiest to buy it already toasted. If for some reason you don't buy it toasted, you can just, if you have a gas stove, you can take the sheet of nori and just hold it over a flame for a few seconds, and you'll see the color change and it will crispen up, and that's a way of roasting it yourself. But I buy the sheets already ready to go. And they have 2 sides to them. There's a shiny side and a rougher side, okay? And I put the rougher side face up, and that's the part that I fill. And the smoother side is the part that I use for the outside. So we're starting to, the onions are starting to get soft now. I'll show you. So I'm going to add the carrots into this pan. This is 4 carrots to 2 onions. And basically it's about the same amount of carrots to onions in measurement. And in with these carrots and onions, I'm going to add mirin, which is aji mirin. It's sweet rice wine. And this is the only brand I know of that is really, really good. This is Eden brand. Kikkoman, which also makes a soy sauce, they make mirin that they actually sell even at Whole Foods. But if you look at the ingredients, it's glucose syrup. It is not aji mirin. It's not sweet rice wine. In here, all that's in here is water, organic rice, sea salt, and koji, which is another seaweed. And that's it. So we're going to add a little bit of this sweet rice wine to this. And that also helps steam the carrots and deglazes the pan. So if it was sticking at all at the bottom of the pan, that will deglaze it. And then you're going to also add tamari. And in the recipe, do I say how much tamari? I don't actually say how much tamari. So, watch what I'm doing. It's just a few shakes, like this. I would say it's probably 2 tablespoons worth. But you can also do it by taste. Basically, tamari is a fermented soy sauce, and it is very salty, and it has a lot of umami flavor to it. So that is going to give you a lot of the flavor for this filling. Let that cook just a little bit more. I'm going to get a bowl with some water in it. And I'm going to use this to just wet my hands a little bit so that the rice won't stick to my hands. Let that cook just a little bit more. I'm going to make 2 rolls at a time, okay? Again, I have the, I don't think it really matters whether you put the sticky side up, the rougher side up or down, but I'm going to have the rougher side up. I'm going to put a cup of rice into each one of these. And I'm first going to spread the rice around so that it covers the whole sheet of nori, except for about 1 inch at the very top. Can you see that? Now I'm going to just wet my hands very slightly. You don't want to be getting the, you don't want to get the seaweed wet. You're just doing enough wetness so that the rice won't stick to your hands. And then you're going to press the rice down. And again, I can use my hand as a guide because I want the rice to come all the way to the edge of the sheet of nori. Otherwise, your end pieces, when you cut them, will fall apart. You're just going to press that down really hard. And you try to get the rice even all the way through. So again, just a little bit of water. Really press it down. Okay, and you know, let me give this a stir. You give it a little taste to see if there's enough soy sauce, and there is, or enough tamari. You know that you've pressed it enough if you can lift it up and the rice stays on. Okay? So now I'm going to make a little strip of this carrot and onion mixture right down the middle. It will cool off quickly. Turn that off. All right. So we have, spread this out a little bit. Oops. Just try to even it out. Now, on this nori, I'm going to put a strip of tofu down the center. Now, the tofu that I'm using is sprouted, extra firm tofu that I get from Trader Joe's. I like this container because, you know, for this recipe, I don't need a lot of tofu, so I can undo just a half of it, half of the block, and not use it all. So I have laid out a few strips of the tofu on this towel. You can see that? I just cut it thin, about 1/4 inch thick. Can you see? Okay, and these are going to be cut into strips right now to go down the center aisle of the sushi. And what it does is it actually makes a little white center in the middle, almost like a flower for each piece of nori that we're going to cut. So I cut them so that they're into little strips like this. And go right down the middle. Like so. I'm going to take some sesame seeds. Sprinkle a little sesame seed down the middle. And then to seal it, let me put this tofu over to the side again. To seal it, you can either just use a little bit of tamari, or you can actually mix a little bit of tamari with tahini. Tahini is sesame butter. They make it the same way you make peanut butter with peanuts. You make tahini with sesame seeds. So let me just open this. I don't always use the tahini to seal it. The tamari works just fine as well. But I just want to show you all the tricks.
Bhavani, was the rice flavored at all, or it was just boiled in a little?
It was just put. I did put a little salt in the water. That's all. So I'm just going to put a little bit of tahini in with this tamari and mix it up. And this is what I'm going to use to seal the rolls. Just put a little bit on the ends. And think of it as your glue or your paste to seal it. And then to roll it, you're going to start at the side that's closest to you, and you want to lift the whole nori sheet up over the piece of tofu, and then start rolling it. And that's it. You know, you'll see a lot of people use these sushi mats, but I find them much more difficult to teach people with and more difficult to use. So again, just go right over the nori and then start rolling it up. And you're pressing as you go, just slightly, so that it's nice and firm. And you see, because I pressed it to the ends are also very tight. The key here now in cutting it is to have a sharp knife. I sharpened this before the class. And very often they'll cut the sushi rolls into 6 pieces, 8 pieces. I actually choose to cut them into 10 so that you can actually eat a whole piece in one bite. You know, if a piece is too big, it's just too hard. So I cut them into nice size pieces that can fit in your mouth in one bite. So each side, I cut it down the middle, and then each side I just visually divide into 5 pieces. So I end up with 10 pieces. And actually, just so you know, when you go to a restaurant, you can ask them to cut it into 10 pieces, and they will. It's better for sharing as well. Okay, then when you're serving them, you want to lay them on their side. I'm going to show you how the tofu looks. Leia. Leia is my dog. She's so great. Okay, so these are the carrot ones. And when I finish making the other rolls, I'll show you how to make the dip and the wasabi mustard and also some sushi ginger. Okay, but you can see how pretty they look. Can you see them? Look, there we go. Where to put them? I'll put them over here. Okay, so we're going to do that again, but this time we're going to make the mango avocado rolls. And you can make so many different varieties. You can make just an avocado roll. You can make a kapamaki, which is a cucumber roll. There's many different rolls that you can make with this, with the basic recipe, using just sushi and rice, and then stuff it with anything you want. Oh, the compost is over here. Okay, so for the avocado and mango ones, we're going to first just cut the avocado and the mango into slices. So we first cut the avocado in half. And then we take one half and we're going to make slices right down the middle. Be careful not to go through the skin and cut your hand. Just like that. Take the pit out. She's cleaning up the rice from the floor. And then you can use a spoon and you can just scoop out the avocado just like this. And this is the way that, you can decorate platters with it. Just take the slices and spread them out like this, and they look really pretty. We're going to line our sushi with this in the middle. Okay, and then we're going to cut the mango. And for those that were part of the class for the coconut encrusted tofu, we made the mango salsa. So you know how the shape of the mango is oblong like this. And you're going to cut on each side of the pit. Like that. The pit's right in the middle. Don't throw it out. This part is great to just munch on. It gets stuck in your teeth, but it's really delicious. Okay, and then again, just like with the avocado, you're going to make slices down the center here. Careful not to go through the skin. You can just turn it inside out. You have all these beautiful slices right like that. Whoops. We'll cut them off afterwards. So I made a mixture already with some pomegranate molasses and some tamari. So that was a tablespoon of pomegranate molasses and a tablespoon of tamari. You won't use it all, but that's what I'm using for sealing this variety of sushi rolls. So again, I'm going to get 2 sheets of nori.
That was molasses and what else?
It's pomegranate molasses. This is the brand that's readily available in the store. And then I just found this one, which is actually organic, and so I bought this the other day.
And was there another ingredient in there or just the molasses?
It's just the molasses. Oh, and tamari, I'm sorry. Is that what you mean? With tamari?
Yeah, thank you.
Uh-huh. So again, a cup worth of rice in each one. And if you want the rolls to be thinner, you can always put a little bit less rice in, okay? Just wet your hands slightly, spread the rice around. Leaving that border at the very top. I remember one time I taught a school in one day, like I think it was 350 kids how to make this. We went into the gym and we had a bunch of classes at a time in the gym, and there were a lot of parent helpers, and all the kids made this, and it was so much fun. Okay, so it's really a great thing to, you know, teach kids to do, because it actually doesn't take any cooking. I mean, I bring the ingredients with me, and you know, it's something that kids can do themselves, and so it's really a great dish to take on the road, do with your children or grandchildren. Again, you want to make sure that you got it all the way to the edge. Use your hand as a guide. Press it down so it's really pressed in there tightly. Okay, then we're going to lay avocado down the center this time. If you want, you can also, you know, they're palatable, they're bendable, so you can just kind of like put extra in there, make it a nice thick piece of it, and just smush it, okay? It doesn't have to be solid like that. Put another piece over here. Okay, then again, if you want to add some of the sesame seeds, let me just rinse my hand. Actually, I'm not going to add the sesame seeds to this one, because we're going to add pomegranate seeds. And I buy my pomegranate seeds at Trader Joe's. They have organic pomegranate seeds, which is really great. At Whole Foods, they sell pomegranate seeds, but not organic. And they also sell pomegranates, but they're not organic. So finding organic pomegranate seeds is really great. So you're just going to do a little line of the pomegranate seeds next to the avocados.
Do the pomegranates have those hard
What's
seeds
that?
in them? Do the pomegranates have those hard seeds in them?
These are the seeds.
So there's nothing hard in them? You're supposed to eat the whole that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, and then I'm going to put this pomegranate and tamari mixture up at the top to seal it. And we're going to roll it up.
Wait, are you gonna put the mango in, or the mango?
Now the
doesn't
mango's
go in?
on top. The mango
Oh,
goes on top.
okay.
So it looks like the raw fish on top. But if you want to put the mango inside, when you're the chef, you're the boss. So you can make your own decisions when that, as far as that goes. So let me get another spoon. I'm just going to use a spoon to get the mangoes up, just like this. And I'm going to actually slice them a little thinner. And depending on how ripe they are, this one's not as ripe, they'll fold right over. There we go, it's better. And you can use these as your guide to cutting the pieces. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Do the same thing on the other one. Away. Okay, move those to the side. Let's line these up. And again, we're going to cut it down the middle. I'll have to fix the mangoes after.
Bhavani,
Yeah.
how does the mango stay on without falling off?
I guess I put it this way. I don't lie it on its side.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, it's beautiful.
I'll get the dish and put it right on. And if it falls off, you put it right back on. Let's see how that's looking. And you can also even put a pomegranate piece on the top if you'd like. I guess it's easier almost to put the mango on afterwards. I haven't made this in a while. And if you wanted to put the mango in the inside, I think you could do that as well. And it would also be equally delicious. But it's the flavor that's so special in the summertime to make use of the fresh fruit. Oops. Okay, so here's your little sushi appetizers. We'll leave these to the side and we'll eat them in a little bit. Let me just give a quick rinse to my food processor so we can use it for the hummus. And this takes the other blade. So we're going to use the food processor. Let me just clean this up a little bit. We're going to use the food processor for both the radish pate and for the hummus. A minute. Okay. Back in business. Here we go. So I'm going to bring my Cuisinart back over here. And the lid. So we're going to start actually with the Georgian radish green pate. So we're going to start with 2 cups of the steamed greens. So all I did was take the tops of the beets, and it was 3 bunches of beets, and that's what I used in the tops. And right now I have beets growing in my garden. I have radish greens. Actually, did I say beets? These are radish greens, but you can use beet greens. You can use a combination. You can use arugula or any Asian green that's like a spicy mix. So all 2 cups are going to go in here. Actually, I don't know if I squeezed out enough water. You want to squeeze out the water.
Can you use carrot tops for this?
I have never used carrot tops. I'm not so familiar with their flavor, but I think you could try it. So you can see I have the whole, the stems and the leaves all together. So you're going to put that in. You can give this a couple pulses by itself. One of the keys, though, is you want to just lightly steam it, just to wilt it, and then run it under cold water or dip it into an ice bath to stop the cooking so that you lock in that bright green color. Otherwise, if you overcook it, the color of the pate is going to be that olive green color that is not so pleasant. All right, so in here, we're going to add a cup of walnuts. We're going to add some garlic, and I think it calls for 5 cloves of garlic. So I'm going to do 1, 2, we'll do less than a teaspoon, 3, 4, 5, what I think would be a garlic clove. And then I'm going to put in a 1/2 cup of cilantro. And this I just picked from my garden. So it is so full of flavor. They're little baby leaves because they're not that big yet. Okay, cilantro. Oh, I have to saute some onion and celery. I forgot about that. Let me get a bowl to take this out. I'm going to use the same pan. I'm just going to wipe it out. And I need some celery. Okay, 1 stalk of celery. My knife. And for cutting the stalks of celery, I usually go right down the center with a couple slices. Turn my pan on, put a little bit of olive oil in. It's also going to need an onion. I'm going to take this skin off. And I don't have to chop it too fine because it is all going to go into this Cuisinart afterwards. Does it say a full onion? Hold on. Oh, it says half a cup. I mean half an onion. And it actually called for a red onion, but I don't have a red onion. So we're going to use a white onion. So we're going to let that cook up a little bit. Well, that's cooking. I know this is out of whack, but I'm going to take this out of the Cuisinart right now, and I'll put it back in after when that's ready. But I should do the hummus first to make use of the clean Cuisinart and time, because we are going to run out of time otherwise. Okay. So for the hummus, you're going to open a can of beans, garbanzo beans. You can do this recipe even with a different type of bean. White beans, white navy beans, cannellini beans, all good. You're going to drain the water out of it. Although this is also known as aquafaba, which is water of the bean. And this can be used as an egg replacement. I don't know if you've seen recipes for that, but you can actually whip up the juice from the canned chickpeas, and it will look like egg whites. Okay, drain that out. Put that in, and there's a little bit of the radish green in there, but that's fine, and I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, give this a little pulse. And then we need garlic in here. And this calls for a tablespoon. Oh, already chopped. Okay. Tablespoon of garlic. Like that. We're going to need lemon juice again. Now you can either use fresh lemon, but again, if you're trying to whip it up fast, having organic lemon juice in your refrigerator is really wonderful. And it calls for 4 teaspoons. 4 teaspoons is a tablespoon and a teaspoon. So, tablespoon and a teaspoon. And then we're going to put in some cumin. And the cumin is a tablespoon of cumin. I don't want to put the tablespoon into the cumin because it has lemon juice in it. So like that. Let's give it another little pulse. have a sip of wine. Get a spatula and just go around the edges. Get everything incorporated in there. Okay, so we want a teaspoon of dark sesame oil. And dark sesame oil is used for flavor. It's not really an oil that you're going to cook with. And then I want to put in some parsley. Again, I'm going to pulse this. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my tahini and my tamari. So the tahini calls for a full half a cup. Where's the tahini? So this is a new jar of tahini, so it's not fully mixed up. I'm going to just mix it up a little. Half a cup. This is a cup measurer, so I'm going to not fill it all the way. Half a cup of the tahini. Use your spatula and get everything off the sides. And you need just a little bit of water in here to thin it out, and also salt. So we need a half a teaspoon of salt. This is Himalayan pink salt. A little bit of tamari. Oops. And this just gives it a little umami flavoring, and of course a little salt at the same time. Basically about a teaspoon you're going to put in. And then we're just going to add just a little bit of water. Really just like a teaspoon or tablespoon of water, just to thin it out. And that's it. It's so fast to whip up. You can give it a little taste and see if you want more salt or, you know, more tamari, more cumin. Again, I'm gonna add a little more tahini. When you're the chef, you get to how you want to do it. Again, I put this in, but I did not put it into my mouth and then into the dish. Know that your saliva is actually how food starts to digest, so you don't want to go into a dish. Okay, that's delicious. So now I'm going to get my dish for that. All the hummus off of the blade, and then using the same spatula, you're just going to get all of it out. Put it into your serving dish. If there's any extra, you can take that out and just put it into another dish, which I'm going to do right here, so I can reuse my food processor. Just give me a minute. Okay. My blade. Okay. So with the hummus, you can either serve it with fresh pita bread, which is always wonderful. Serve it with corn chips, which is nice and gluten-free for those that are watching the gluten. Or some pita chips. These are Stacy's organic pita chips. Here's our hummus. Oh, there we go. Just going to sit over here. Okay, we're back in business for our Georgian radish pate. Okay, so I'm putting back in my radish greens, my cilantro, my garlic, my walnuts, all into the food processor. I'm now going to add the sauteed vegetables that I just did, which is the celery and the onions, right into here. And for those that registered early, I sent you a link to buying a wonderful spice that I want to show you. This is kumili sunili, and a lot of Georgian names end with vili. And so this is like that too, kumili sunili. And it's a mixture, a spice mixture, and it's just delicious, but it has cardamom in it and fenugreek. And so you can use those if you don't have this instead. So I am going to add some salt and pepper and a teaspoon of this. A generous teaspoon of this. And I'm also going to add some cardamom. And I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of this. And I love the smell of cardamom. Cardamom is one of the main spices in chai, if you like that tea. Okay, and a half a teaspoon of cumin. And then we will add a quarter cup of olive oil as it's spinning. Okay. This. I just noticed also that I was supposed to saute a shallot with the celery and onions, and I left that out. So forgive me, but that's something you'd want to use too. So I'm going to measure out a quarter cup of oil. And while this is running, I'm going to slowly add this quarter cup of oil. And this is what you do if you're making pesto too. By adding the oil slowly, it emulsifies. And it's just enough to hold it all together. Again, you want to taste it to see if, oh, I didn't add the salt, did I? I was going to say to see if it needs salt, but I didn't add the salt. So I need a half a teaspoon salt and a quarter teaspoon pepper. Salt. Pepper. And you can use fresh ground pepper as well. This is organic already ground pepper. Scrape around the sides, get all of that incorporated in there. Such a pretty color too. Wait till you see it. Taste. So good. And I'm tasting it, and I actually think you could use a little bit more salt, but you will be the judge of your own. You see the bright green color that it is, and it still has a little texture to it. You can puree it more if you want it to be completely smooth. And then you're going to serve it with some crackers or other chips. And this is the radish green pate. And so, this took us an hour. We made four different appetizers. And these are just great, great things that you can whip up when you're having company, and they can be made ahead of time. This can stay in the refrigerator for days, 4 days, and it will be fine. So you can make it ahead of time. And even though I said the dip could use maybe a little bit more salt, these crackers are salty, so it's perfect. The hummus. It's right here. Oh, I didn't show you the dip or the wasabi mayo. Wasabi mustard. So let me do that with you really fast. Wasabi mustard, the best kind to get is Eden brand again. Comes in a powder. And it looks like this. Get a little spoon. Basically, you're just going to mix up just enough for what you're going to use. And pickled ginger, this side back So the wasabi mayo, I keep saying wasabi mayo. Actually, Trader Joe's makes a wasabi mayo that is actually quite good. And we sometimes serve that as well with these rolls. So you're gonna put in some of the wasabi mustard down. And this brand, Ginger People, they make a really great sushi ginger that is wonderful. And sushi ginger should be white in color. If it's pink, you want to make sure that it's not artificially colored. If they use beets for coloring, that's fine, but many of them don't. So here's the pickled ginger. And once it's open, it does need to be refrigerated. And these are the condiments that go with it. For the dip, I'm going to make a combination of a little bit of tamari, with just a splash, just the tiniest bit of the mirin, which just gives it a little bit of sweetness. And then just a little bit of water, just so it's not quite so strong. And that's it. You can taste it. Perfect. I'm going to taste one of these. Mmm. So good. I really hope you enjoy. I hope you get to make it. And I will see you all again next week. Next week, again, just to complete this series, next week I wanted to do vegan desserts. I was going to make a raspberry lemon cheesecake made with cashew milk or cashews and some Linzer tart cookies, all that are vegan. You can make them gluten-free, sweetened with maple syrup, really great. So we're going to do desserts next week. So please join us, and I'll see you all next week. Cheers.
Okay. Thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Great class.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.